Today I'm hanging a black and white product that is from Designer Wallpapers. Now I'm going to show you the product, but before I do, I want to tell you that the pattern is TA2-0400. That's Thomas Adam 20400. Do you like it? You either like this or you either love this or you don't. That's the type of wall covering it is. I'm going to tell you why you don't want to hang this product in your home. Let's go close up. What do you think? Look close. What's that black stuff? Well, that's your poorly applied latex ink. So just wipe it off, right? Okay, let's do that. As you wipe it, the ink comes off and moves to another place. I highly suggest that you don't get this. Now, that wouldn't be bad enough because you could actually universally cover the wall covering. If you're really good with the sponge, you could put a hue of this ink. What else could you do? You're not going to go and clean these mazes off, right? Look at it as I rub this. Look at the color. Here's the worst part about it. Look at my seam. My seam is not on top of each other, as it might appear. My seam is trapping the ink. You see how it's nice right here? But look down. The seam is more visible. Look at this. This seam is saturated with the dye. Not something you want to put your name on, okay? I would vote against this wall covering. I suggest that you don't purchase it. And if they should tell you, oh, that's just a couple of the batches. No, this is the whole product. I hung one of these products a couple of years ago. It was a black background with white Arabic writing on it. The white writing was completely covered in ink. Every time I wiped it this way, the ink would go this way. They took it back and they said, oh, it's just the batch. Don't get this stuff. Don't get it. Spencer votes against it. So as we hang wallpaper, we're always coming up with new ways to do it quicker, easier, and even better. So I have a 12-foot piece of wallpaper here. Going up on the ladder or a scaffold to wipe it down is something that takes a lot of time. And then you come down the ladder, there's also an inherent danger involved in doing that. So what I did was, I've been looking for a tool with which I could clean the wallpaper effectively, the way you would wipe it down. Look at this tool, right in the cleaning section of the box store. Look at the size of the pad. This is about 16 inches by about 10. And so I'm going to put it on the wall covering, and I'm going to do with this pole and this tool what I would normally do with a rag, or a sponge actually. I don't use rags on my wallpaper most of the time. I used to, but the sponge draws out the paste on the wallpaper, adds some water to it, and then sucks that to the middle. It's really effective. And if I were you, if you want a good suggestion for cleaning the wallpaper as you're going along, use Pro Plus. I get them at Sherwin-Williams. They're very good sponges. And I buy them all up when I see them. They last you several months. Unless you have a helper who didn't pay for it, and he's wiping against screws on the wall and tearing up your sponge, then you may want to prohibit him or her from using your sponges. So anyway, believe it or not, that's the case. So I'm going to go about this and clean this up. Let's see how I do. What I like about it is it gives me the ability to wipe very hard. For those of you who hang wallpaper for a living, you know that all of this lifting, spreading your arms, puts a lot of stress on the skeleton, particularly in the back, the muscles in the back, and causes a great deal of fatigue. So this tool allows you to use different muscle groups, such as your legs, your abdomen, and it puts less pressure. It isolates the back muscles where your back just has to stay firm, meaning not moving, and you can use your hips and your legs to absorb the stress necessary to clean your wallpaper. So I highly recommend. I mean, look at this tool. If you say that it costs you more time, then consider the reduction of the stress on your muscles. That's really what I was thinking about. Whenever you're using a pole, you're giving your regular muscles a break. Because when you use your hand here, you're using shorter muscles more frequently, and they get really stressed and causes tendonitis. When I was in medical school for 3 years, after I stopped studying for my doctorate in, no, I'm only kidding. Just kidding. I thought somebody was listening. Figured I'd give them a little entertainment. The product is coming out beautifully. The image you're looking at is 2 sheets. This is 1 full roll right here. Now, in the center, right in the middle of that white plate cover, right down to that outlet is the center. That's our seam. Let's go close to the seam. At first glance, you would say, oh, the seam is visible. Perhaps it's overlapped. Let me show you something. The seam is butted right up against each other. So why is it visible? Well, it would not be so visible were it not for the fact that this very weak latex ink, were it not for the fact that it's coming off, as you can see right there. And so, just like if you took a pencil and put a nickel under a piece of paper and you went back and forth, you would see the outline of the president on the nickel. Well, as I wipe this down to get this off, the ink is getting trapped in the center, and it's taking up its home in the center. It's dyeing the edge of the wallpaper. And we can expect the same. You see that edge? It's light colored. But as I wipe the wallpaper down, the ink is giving way to a light wiping, which is absolutely necessary and normal for the procedure to clean off the wallpaper. So I bring my customers' attention to it because otherwise they think, what's wrong here? It's not a big deal. I hung one a couple of years ago that had Arabic writing in white, and it was black wallpaper, and the white writing in Arabic was soiled with the color of the black, and it completely changed the color of the white. Anyway, they took it off, they sent it back, they covered the product, and I had to rehang the wall. But I don't think you want to do that here. I just wipe vertically and I get that ink off. But inevitably, I just want to let you know that it takes up its residence in that crevice, and it becomes part of the wall. So as we go along, I'm going to make this look good before I'm done. No doubt about it. Wallpaper hangers are perfectionists. A wallpaper hanger, I have something to share with you. And I truly believe that the pros who watch my channel would say the same thing. Professionals are never happy 100% with their jobs. Most of the time. The recent video I posted on Philip Jeffries' grass wall coverings, I was completely satisfied, except that the layout caused me to put a seam 6 inches away from one of the obtuse outside corners. Wasn't crazy about that. So once again, I wasn't 100% satisfied. But we're perfectionists, and although our clients say, great work, love the work, we know where any shortcomings are on our projects. Let me show you something. Look at this. Okay, look at this. I had a job 3 years ago. It was for a man who wasn't very nice. He was off his rocker. Anyway, my hands were not black, they were purple. And I washed my hands and I said, let me touch this with a gentler hand. And you know, you don't want the paste on your hands or even it being tacky, because obviously the tackiness of your hand will lift the print. Well, I told the customer, I said, hey, listen, your paper is giving up the color. Here's what my suggestion is to you. For the do-it-yourselfer, you're on your own. You know that. And you can take the time to clean it. You know, if you don't have the liability of satisfying a customer and then getting paid, this message isn't for you. It's for the new pro who's never dealt with this. If this is what you're getting, and believe me, this happens 1 out of 1,000, but this product is not cheap. And if this is what you're getting, here's what you got to do. There's no wrong, and it completely relieves you of liability. The liability of customer disappointment, customer taking issue with paying you. There's no liability when you say, excuse me, Mr., ma'am, come here, please. Here's what's happening. You're immediately relieved. They can call a customer, they can call customer service if they want, or they can opt to have it taken down. But once you don't talk about this because you're afraid, you think it's your fault, you lost already. Anything that goes wrong with the product, meaning color getting trapped in the seam, a disproportionate trapping of the color. How come it's darker here and not there? Well, I got to it sooner than later in this area than the other. You know, the seams are inheriting and trapping this color. And so you can see it. You can see it in the seams. Okay? Now, like I said, some of you right now might be saying, oh, come on, Spencer, you're crazy. Well, I told you that we're perfectionists. Secondly, some of our clientele are also unreasonable. And if you're dealing with an unreasonable client, you need to come out right away and say, time out, there's a problem with your paper. What do you want me to do? You put it right in their lap, and then you're completely relieved. You don't want to try to hide this and assuming it's your fault and thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do? No, this is I believe this is a latex ink, in other words, garbage, that is put on this wall covering, and it's lifting with minimal friction, and I'm talking minimal. So it's garbage, okay? The best wall coverings have a solvent-based ink, and the ink is embedded into the product and it doesn't lift. This happened on a major job in a multi-million-dollar, they made drugs. I can't mention the company's name. They made drugs, antibiotics, all sorts of medicine in South Tampa. And they had me install their murals. Color was lifting off. They said, hey, color's coming off. The person who manufactured the color onto the wall covering, he inherited full responsibility. He lost over $30,000 with the product. And the company went ahead and got an installer from Boston, and they had the product made in Boston, shipped down, and it was a complete loss for the fellow who hired me to install it. Anyway, my point is, do not accept blame for this, okay? That's the point of the video. I want to help anybody who's been in similar situations to the ones I've been in. The sooner you let your customer know what's going on, the better off you are. Okay, I'm going to keep installing it. It'll look pretty good when I'm done, but this is a liability I'd rather not be dealing with, because you want to enjoy what you're hanging, right? I know it looks good from a distance, but we installers, we go up close. We want to see what it's doing up close. And in that case, I'm not thoroughly happy. And if I'm not happy, I don't feel great about the installation. But as long as the customer likes it, that's what counts. Ultimately, you have to move on. And this is how you do it. You document it, and you bring it to their attention either by video or photograph. Sometimes the customer leaves you in their house, they're gone, you can't get in touch with them. Then you're stuck with what I used to call in my previous life a command decision. What do you do? And sometimes they don't like the decision you make, but you have to anticipate that and say, hey, listen, what if I have a problem? How do I get in touch with you? Because this might be something your client might say, hey, take that down, I don't like it. Okay. Perhaps you are thinking, come on, Spencer, don't make such a big deal out of the ink. When I get done with it, it'll look perfect. But come on, think like an installer. Should you have to clean up ink off of a black and white product? Think about it. You're spreading it onto the light color. That's a ton more work for you. Almost done. So, for those of you who are new, I started in the middle in order that I may have an equal amount on one end as I do on the other. Especially with a pattern that will rely upon symmetry. If you have this on one end, you might notice on the other that you don't have it. So if you just decided to start on the left and go this way, it's just not professional. This is geometric. Look in the dead center. Can you not see the diamonds that form? If you take a look at it, it plays on your eyes, but you can see diamonds. As I look through my screen, I can't see them, but I can see them when I look at the product directly. Anyway, you want that to be on the same side. The same thing that ends one side is the same thing you want to end on the other side. The only time you don't have that rule in effect is when you're doing the whole room. Okay? However, let me say this. If you are doing the entire room and you have this massive wall here, guess what? Start in the middle and plan your layout like this, or at least try to, so that the one large wall has symmetry. Okay? But if that means that doing this lands you 2 inches from this corner and 3, no, then don't do that. You must yield to the practicalities of the layout. But wouldn't it be ideal if you had this wall as, it would be like an accent wall, and then you could hang the rest of it according to this becoming perfectly symmetrical. That would be ideal. So when you're planning, think about that. If you have a large wall, see what it would take for you to make perfect symmetry on one wall, and then following through with the rest of it. Anyway, that's just a suggestion on hanging a geometric pattern such as this. Geometric patterns. These patterns are highly susceptible to misalignment. The way we move our hands and bellies in the wall will cause misalignments, especially on a long wall. We're dealing with a wall that's almost 13 feet. There's a lot of room for displacement of material. So if you look at the wall, you might see a couple of bellies. I can certainly feel them. Anyway, it displaces the material. Also, a disproportionate amount of pressure from the hanger might cause this. What do? Well, we're going to pressure the wallpaper vertically from this 180-degree angle. So we're going to push this way. Watch this. You've got to make it fit, but you're going to cause a buckle, right? That's all right. Get it all in place. And then get rid of your buckles. Very, very carefully. Okay, you see this? We're going to displace the misalignment that way. Let's back up so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's our buckle. We're aligned now, but we got a buckle, and we're going to throw it this way. Not this way, but that way. You know why? You have the greatest chance of getting rid of the buckle by going in a diagonal motion, because you're using two directions. You're using the left and you're using the right. If you just go this way, well, you're going to cause more buckling. Trust me when I tell you. Okay, so pushing it, and now we're not out of the woods yet. We're not yet out of the woods. I highly recommend with this product that you get yourself a Marshalltown rubber. This is rubber. Seam roller. Okay. We can slide our seam together to make it look prettier. Okay, see that? Note the distance from the seam. The palm of my hand is, okay? Now, that's the best you're gonna get this seam. Watch this. One more push. Okay, now, I love this seam roller. Look at how nice and flat it makes it. Nice and easy. Just push it into place. And the final push is, I take my smoother like this on a diagonal. There's a reason for the diagonal motion. It prevents the seam from overlapping when you're pushing it into place. Now we let this set up, and then we come back to it so that our seam looks like that. Okay, but we have to wait till this newly installed piece relaxes. But for now, it's the best we can expect right now. Just make sure you're perfectly aligned. Now back to the buckle. You don't want to run it over. You want to pull the low and beyond above the buckle. Do not run this over. If you do this, your buckle, you will take the color right off of the area where the buckle is. So you don't want to be lazy. Get on the ladder and pull it above the buckle. Let's do that. So here's our buckle, right? Not too bad, right? Look at how well our seam did. Look at the perfect alignment here, right? And look, we're a little off here, aren't we, right? Isn't that something when you're hanging? And look, right at the bottom of the same rectangle, we're on point. Very carefully, watch this. You see the ripple I'm making? That's all you're gonna need to get the top line in place. Watch this. Watch this, look at that. Now, if you keep pushing this up, you're gonna knock this out of whack. What do we do with this buckle? We displace it this way. See that? There's all sorts of little tips and tricks when you're hanging geometric patterns. Don't get confused about your pattern not matching up. Make it match and then take that little ripple I just made and force it out to the left or to the right as quickly as you can. Okay, how about our buckle? I'm gonna pull on that buckle down, I'm gonna pull up on it. Okay, I don't wanna run it over. I'm pulling down on it, pushing up on it. Okay, now let's see. Okay, how do we do? Nice, look at that. No more buckle. Okay, folks, a lot of people write into me. I'm talking people who never hung wallpaper before. I am so proud of so many of my viewers who say, Spencer, you helped me install 3 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms of wallpaper. You helped me wallpaper my ceiling. I'm not surprised, I'm shocked that people have learned so much from these videos. I'm shocked that a person who never hung wallpaper before, using all these tips and tricks, can buy the wallpaper and have the confidence to do it. It's such a gratifying experience to be the person making the videos and to find emails from people all over the world now, Europeans in particular, and people in the USA. Spencer, I've wallpapered my wall, my bedroom, thanks to your videos. So anyway, I make these videos because it's a great part of the job, even though it delays the job at least 10% of my time, at least, especially those detailed videos. But you know what? They'll be on YouTube forever. And if you want me to leave you my YouTube channel as a gift for when I'm no longer here, just write in and tell me. No, I'm only kidding. But I'm glad to make the videos. I'm glad to help people do their thing. See how nice that came out after we pushed that buckle? Now, granted, I gotta clean this up. Some people are so critical. Yeah, what about the mess you left behind? Some people when I'm doing a video and talking and there's a bubble, they see a bubble over here, they're like, you left the bubble. I'm not leaving any bubbles. This now has to be gone over with a wet cloth, cleaning it, and then as it's wet, the bubbles, if any, will manifest more clearly when it's wet. You know, when it's matte finished and it doesn't shine, you want to light it up, so to speak. with wetness so that any bubbles will manifest quite readily. It's almost like when you're fixing your tire, you put soapy water on it, and then any air coming out of the tire, because of it being penetrated, will show bubbles. And so that's one of the little tricks that we do. We wet it down with water, and then we have the benefit of not only wiping it down to give it its final cleaning, we can take a look on a close angle to see if there's any bubbles. Okay, let's get back to the project here and get done with this. Would you just come in close? Just bring it in close. Did you press it? Yo escucho. Oh, sí, gracias. Okay. So as you can see, it has to be cleaned down. Once the product is cleaned down, we can give it a final manipulation, moving any seams that have to be moved. It's about 50% dry right now. We have a lot of time left to just put our final touches on it if we have to. But the first thing you want to do with this product is get the color off the material. And as you can see, it's pretty forgiving, but still, I still don't recommend getting this, because if you're not experienced with hanging a problem product, this could be a nightmare for you. But as soon as you see the color lifting, you know how to treat it with very gentle hands. Could you bring them in close, please? You could show them here. Thank you. Just show them up and down. Very nice. Thank you so much. We have a new camera girl. She's from Guatemala. And she's a hard-working young lady, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And so our final inspection of the material, as I said, when wet, will reveal any problematic areas that need to be addressed, like this. Make sure to always check your smoother to see if there are any nicks in it that will interfere with a very smooth application of the material. If it doesn't lay smoothly against the material, you can scratch it. That little nick you see is on your side. So I'm making sure to keep it away from my material. Always checking your smoother every time you bring it to the wall. If you left it down, your helper may have dropped it. You never know. Always have to check it. It's worth it. Are we slightly misaligned there? You can still fix it. Watch this. I'm pressing hard now. I'm going to move that just a hair. Just a hair. See that? Very nice. Okay, I'll give you a final video clip on how it looks, but this is basically 95% done.
Bye.